But there may have also been a realization, because Disney had given so much evidence out there with failure to perform over and over again, that this might have not been a completely untenable situation for them to release the movie this weekend. However, of course, as we've been saying since the first trailer for Lilo and Stitch came out, this movie looks like it's going to be a banger. And I think we've all known that Mission Impossible, there was no doubt anywhere that just like Oppenheimer, it was going to be playing second fiddle to Barbie, or in this case, second fiddle to Lilo and Stitch.
Renegade Online.
Whoever decided that it was a good idea to put this movie up against Stitch should be packing their things.
Yeah, fire them.
Yep.
Fire them because listen, if this came out last week instead of this week, makes $120 million at the box office. It's awesome.
They needed room to breathe. Exactly. Even if they waited 2 weeks to put this out. Yeah.
This movie would have been better going right out like a week after Thunderbolts.
2 weeks because I Train Your Dragon. Yeah, but if it would have, exactly. In fact, I think I brought that up on one of the streams where it's like, they should have brought Mission Impossible out this weekend. It would have just creamed the Thunderbolts.
Well, here's the thing, though. The reason why it didn't happen earlier is because Sinners, which had the IMAX contract. And it was really important to Paramount and Tom Cruise that they get a clear runway on IMAX, which I totally agree with, and I understand. The problem is that this, and look,
hold on a second, Vat.
Hang on.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
There is some degree of, I can understand Paramount and Tom Cruise and Skydance's thought process by saying, okay, we want Memorial Day weekend. This is where we had a massive success with Top Gun Maverick. And let me switch this out real quick so we can, give a visual here to the audience, because I want to do this right. I can understand where Paramount and Skydance and Tom Cruise said, let's go Memorial Day weekend. This is where Top Gun Maverick really sang beautifully. No doubt there. Okay. And then they probably, maybe somewhere in a darkened room, there were a bunch of Paramount executives at the time of booking this release date, and the guys and gals at Skydance, Tom Cruise included, looking at Disney and saying, we're going to go up against another Disney live-action remake. Thank you, Jesus, because these things are shite, right? They had already seen what Disney live-action remakes were, starting with Mulan and on forward. They're trash, and they would usually flop and collapse almost eminently at the box office, right? And so maybe to some degree, and I'm this is pure academics. This is pure speculation. I'm having a what if conversation right now. So please, everybody, understand. But there's maybe a part of it where they said, yes, we can try to replicate the Barbenheimer impact. But there may have also been a realization, because Disney had given so much actual evidence out there with failure to perform after failure to perform after failure to perform over and over again, that this might have not been a completely untenable situation for them to release the movie this weekend. However, of course, as we've been saying since the first trailer for Lilo and Stitch came out, boom, this movie looks like it's going to be a banger. And I think we've all known that Mission Impossible, there was no doubt anywhere that just like Oppenheimer, it was going to be playing second fiddle to Barbie, or in this case, second fiddle to Lilo and Stitch. So just throwing that out there.
They would have been, as he works on it, they would have been better off putting Mission Impossible up against Thunderbolts. Listen, these companies would be better off taking on Star Wars and Marvel, although they very rarely will get a chance to take on Star Wars, than taking on any sign that Disney is waking up that woke sends them broke. Like, avoid that at all costs. But Ron's having the same kind of day I was. The reason that I was so quiet for so long, folks, is because as I was sitting down to do the show with Valiant and Tom and Ron and all of you, I noticed that my drink was about to fall. He's upside down. My drink was about to fall in the studio. I reached for my drink to save it from falling, and in doing so, I knocked my very expensive studio microphone, the Rush Limbaugh mic, into the drink, literally knocked the mic because it's on one of those swivel things, sent the mic into the drink. The drink still explodes all over the studio. And so I was quiet while I was cleaning it up and making sure that I had not destroyed the microphone. Apparently, the gremlins have stopped by with Ron as well. So, Ron, we've got the same issue here. Murphy has visited both of us.
Well, Murphy, he's not welcome here. Let's leave it at that.
All right. Well, you terminate him while he's over there with you. I'm going to say, folks, that I think, because I'm not sure what's going on with Valiant, I hope that his studio has not also simultaneously seen wreckage. But, listen, I do think that Disney was hoping that Lilo and Stitch would do slightly more than it has. And I know that's saying a lot because it's doing phenomenally well. I think the folks at Paramount have got to be absolutely devastated by the box office returns. And frankly, I'm kind of devastated about it too, because I went and saw both of these movies. I think that Lilo and Stitch could have been magic if they would have just not done some of the things that they did. It could have been magic. I recommend that they get a sequel going as fast as possible and don't bring back this writer and don't bring back this director. But on Mission Impossible, I give that a 9.5 out of 10. I think it's a phenomenal movie, and perhaps some of the best stunt work ever seen in a modern film. And I cannot recommend this movie enough. And it's sad to me because we all saw this train wreck happening. We all saw that this was not going to go well. And somehow at Paramount, they didn't get the memo. Listen, if I get the chance to go up against Sinners versus Lilo and Stitch, give me Sinners every single day. And that's a phrase I don't normally say, but give it to me.
And that's why I said earlier, one of the problems was the contracts, right? It all comes down to how that works. Sinners had the contract with IMAX because IMAX always fronts their brand ambassadors. Sinners was filmed for IMAX. Mission Impossible filmed for IMAX. So IMAX always gives extreme deference to those that are either filmed on the film stock, right? And I can't wait. Christopher Nolan, I believe, if my understanding is correct, Christopher Nolan's movie coming out in a few months, The Odyssey, Homer's The Odyssey. The entire thing, if I'm not mistaken, Christopher Nolan filmed, and he worked with IMAX. IMAX developed new technology for Christopher Nolan to use. They didn't just film this in digital IMAX, but I mean, this thing was filmed in 70 millimeter, the entire film, 70 millimeter film IMAX with this new Christopher Nolan movie. So that is going to be a massive brand ambassador. They're going to give all those IMAX screens to Nolan for that movie for like at least 4 weeks. So that's kind of what it boils down to. So they had to window this properly to make this work. But I mean, look, you know me, and I mentioned this earlier, I'm a huge fan of the MI franchise. Renegade Jr. and I went to go see the very first screening of this 2 p.m. Thursday afternoon. IMAX tickets, $23 a piece. My first reaction that I posted on X was, I wish this had a little bit more oomph. I still loved it. I still enjoyed it. I had no compunctions whatsoever that the $47 or whatever I spent between 2 tickets for myself and Renegade Jr., who's 14. Happy birthday, Renegade Jr. today. No compunctions about what I spent. I wish there was a little bit more, but I was thoroughly entertained. The question is, what does this movie do long term, right? So this movie's got to get to close to $1 billion at the box office to break even. But
it's almost impossible. I mean, to make the pun.
But yeah, it's almost impossible at this point. But what I will say this is, since we're on this topic, before we kind of get into the discussion on the Lilo and Stitch side of things, because I've got a lot to say on that, regardless of whether what is accurate or not. As I posed on X the other day, the question becomes, why were there changes made? Why was it done like this? And there's a pattern with Disney. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll talk about some of the articles out there. I know Tom's already had a lot to say on it. When it comes to, the box office right now and where this is going, here's the thing. Paramount, Skydance, Mission Impossible, it's a horse of a different color. There is right now articles out there, and in fact, I'll pull some of these up, I guess. Mission Impossible, the first movie, Mission Impossible 1, from almost 30 years ago now. Do you know that still drags in about $10 million a year for Paramount? So this is the thing, is that this is one of those franchises, and I always tell people, not everything is equally comparable. There's not perfect equity, and I don't mean that in the social sense, but there's not parity. There's not equity across every movie and how it reacts post-theatrical, right? We've talked about, Tom knows this well, what I'm about to say, when it comes to things like Christmas Vacation or Elf from Jon Favreau, right? Those movies have made, orders of magnitude more money for those studios and distributors long after they left the theaters. The theatrical revenue from those films were poo. Nothing compared to what they've made in the last 20, 30 years by comparison. Mission Impossible, although not to that scale, is still kind of one of those where, because of the way Paramount works, they have become more open with their licensing third-party architecture. I turned on my LG television last night. Renegade Jr. and I are building a almost 6,000 piece Lego set behind me. Barad-dûr from Lord of the Rings. Sauron's Tower with the eye and everything. We've even got a really nice LED light kit that goes into it.
Ron's laughing at you because if it's less than 10,000, he doesn't touch it.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, I'm just amazed that you have that kind of time.
I don't. No, we're going to build this over the course. But this is
just to be a dad. Come on.
Yeah, well, I know, right? So
why can't you take him fishing or something? Come on, Valiant.
We did fishing guess what? I'm fishing all day tomorrow. And members, I thought about this. If depending on how much, when I say catfishing, I want to be clear. We're not talking about the social media version of cat. I'm talking about I'm talking about.
You don't have to say that.
Don't help me, lawyer. Like actual catfishing tomorrow. I thought about actually trying to do a member show from the River Shack tomorrow. So you guys stay tuned. Members, if you're a member of the Valiant Renegade channel, we'll probably do at least some type of short member show tomorrow from the River Shack. That being said, the licensing is different here for Paramount and Universal and everybody else. Disney is one of those few companies that consumes all of their own product. Mission Impossible, that franchise still makes probably collectively $50 million, I bet, at least every year in third-party licensing for Paramount, from the best that I can tell. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.